What do you think Facebook, Dyson, Calm, Patrón, and Liquid Death all have in common? I'll give you a hint. Their success had nothing to do with invention. Now tell me, do you ever feel like you need completely original concepts to actually win? Because I used to feel like that. I'd sit at my desk staring at a blank screen, torturing myself because I thought every single thing I created had to be something that the world had never seen before. It was absolutely exhausting and nearly impossible. But then I figured out the secret. And once I stopped chasing original ideas, everything changed. I'm Sam Ross, creative director and agency owner, and today I'm gonna show you the 5 strategic moves those brands use to beat originality so you can change everything in your business too. But first, let me ask you something. Do you wanna be a settler or a pioneer? And before you answer that, let's talk about the brutal pattern in business that most people ignore. Have you ever heard the saying, the pioneers get the arrows, the settlers get the land? Well, yeah, sure, the pioneers, they get to be first, but you know what else they get? They get to bleed all their cash and energy, learning, educating, and creating the market while the world watches and learns from all of your pain. The real cost of innovation includes massive research and development, exhausting market education, and failed experiments. Being original means you're paying for all the early mistakes and then everyone else just gets a copy of your playbook for free. And then what happens? That's right, the pioneers take all the arrows in the back and the settlers walk right in and take all the land. Remember MySpace? They had the social networking thing figured out years before most people even knew what a profile was. And then Facebook came right along and just settled the territory better. They saw the clutter and the technical debt of MySpace, and they built a cleaner, more accessible version that people beyond their 20s felt comfortable being on. So stop asking, is this original? And start asking, how can I do this better? And position it differently. If you can find a way to take a proven concept and give it a new home in the mind of the consumer, you win. Now back to that question of whether you want to be a settler or a pioneer. I think I can guess your answer. So let's look at what the settlers did to win. The first strategy is winning through better branding, and there is no better example of this than Dyson. Before James Dyson came along, vacuums were just these like boring utility items that you hid in the closet and used to clean your house. They were loud and ugly and they lost suction, and you certainly never felt proud owning one. Dyson didn't invent the vacuum cleaner. He branded the invisible power of it. He introduced clear canisters so you could actually see the dirt that you were sucking up, getting this immediate psychological gratification. He took a basic household commodity and made it desirable through engineering-led branding. And the lesson here is that you don't need to invent a new product to win. All you need is a better brand, a clearer vision, and slight improvements beyond the standard. Dyson wasn't selling a vacuum. He was selling a piece of high-performance machinery that became a status symbol to own. The second strategy is winning through better execution and product experience. Take a look at the Calm app. I mean, meditation has existed for over 5,000 years, right? And the digital meditation space already had plenty of early players until Calm arrived. Calm did not invent the concept of sitting quietly. They just built the best bridge for the modern user. They focused on a superior user interface, brought in celebrities for sleep stories, and created a nature-focused experience that felt premium. Then, they packaged it all up and put it in your pocket, making meditation as easy and accessible as pulling out your phone and opening the app. It was the same ancient concept, but with superior execution for a digital audience. The lesson is to find a proven category that's currently being done poorly or is outdated, something that screams, I need an update, and then build the version that works better for today's user. You aren't inventing the wheel. You're just making it roll smoother than the competition. The third strategy is better positioning by putting yourself directly against the competition to claim a specific territory. So think about the battle between Patrón and Jose Cuervo. For decades, Cuervo was the pioneer that made tequila famous, but they also made it famous for bad decisions, spring break madness, and painful hangovers. It was seen as a low-quality spirit for college kids with one goal: get drunk and get drunk fast. Then came Patrón. They didn't waste a second competing for a place in the cheap tequila lane. Instead, they positioned themselves as the explicit opposite of everything Cuervo represented. In fact, the only thing it had in common with Cuervo was that it was made from the agave plant. They launched as the ultra-premium sipping tequila housed in a beautiful hand-blown bottle. They used the existing reputation of that nasty yellow booze as a foil to claim the high ground of luxury premium tequila. So pure, so refined, it's clear. It is much easier to be the alternative than the original because the market already understands the landscape. You just have to point to the leader and say, we're for the people who don't like that. The fourth strategy is better brand identity. You take the exact same product as everyone else, but apply a much stronger identity to it. And nobody did this better than Liquid Death. They did not invent water. It is literally the most basic, unoriginal commodity on the planet. But instead of putting it in a flimsy plastic bottle with a picture of a mountain on it like everyone else, they put it in a tall boy aluminum can, added a punk rock aesthetic, gave it an off-putting yet intriguing name, and told people to murder your thirst. They took the most boring utility item in the world and turned it into a lifestyle badge. The brand voice is so incredibly strong and compelling that people buy their t-shirts and actually get tattoos of the logo on their bodies. When your product is a basic commodity, your brand voice and your identity become your greatest strength. And they have to, because if you can't compete on revolutionary features, you compete on personality. The fifth move is winning through better focus. And most pioneers fail because they try to be everything to everyone, which just leads to clutter and confusion. It's just a big old mess. Remember the early days of search engines like Yahoo and Alta Vista? I mean, they were packed with news and weather and stock tickers and flashing ads. It's like they were trying to own the entire internet on one page. Then Google comes along. And they didn't try to outfeature them. They won by stripping everything away. They launched with literally a single search bar and a single button. They identified the one thing users actually wanted to search and remove the friction that the pioneers created. And we saw the same thing with Netflix and Blockbuster, and here's the funny thing. Blockbuster was actually the settler at first. They improved on the whole local video store model, but then they stopped innovating, and eventually they became the stagnant pioneer. When they first came out, their approach was to be everything. The movie theater for rentals, and it was great. There was candy and popcorn and physical stores on every corner, but they had massive overhead and a business model built on late fee anxiety. And it worked until technology and Netflix came along. Netflix won through better focus. In the beginning, they didn't try to own the store experience. They focused on one thing: frictionless delivery. That is still their focus today. They stripped away the physical trip and the ticking clock, and by focusing on convenience rather than inventory, they made the giant irrelevant. Winning isn't always about adding more. It's about being intentional enough to take away the noise. When you look at each of these strategies, you realize that the pressure to be original is actually a distraction from being effective. Now, many of my clients have come to me over the years feeling defeated because they think someone else already had their idea. But that's a good thing. It means there's a proven market. It means people are already spending money on that solution. Look, your job doesn't have to be the visionary who invents the future. In order to be successful, you just need to ask yourself, where is the gap? If you can master the art of looking at what is already working and ask, how can I improve this by even 20%? You will find a path to a brand that can truly become unstoppable. And that's at the core of what I teach, and it's the only way to build a business that lasts in a crowded world. And a quick note about competition. You will bring originality to whatever you do because you bring your own unique experience, perspective, and story to the approach. So you can't help but be original, and you don't even have to try. So stop trying to invent and start trying to improve. And here's how you can start applying this today. Research. Research is your greatest weapon because you aren't guessing what people want. Do you know how many people, smart people, spend years and tons of money inventing products no one wants? Because they thought a good idea meant market validation. It doesn't. Study what is already working in your space. Find the gaps, the frustrations, and the unmet needs that the current market leader is ignoring. Go read the 1-star reviews. Look for what people complain about most. Then get crystal clear on exactly who you are trying to help. Don't be vague. Don't be lazy. Be detailed and concise and specific. And I'm going to give you a hint here because this is not nearly as hard as people make it out to be. You should already have a very clear idea about who you're trying to help because this person was you when you had this problem and you were trying to solve it for yourself. When you understand your people better than anyone else does, they will find you. With clarity, deep research, and the courage to position yourself differently from the crowd, you'll see where the real profit lives. And if you want to understand how to position yourself as the only logical choice in your industry, then book a free strategy call with the link in the description below. And I will see you soon.